J.B. Deakins.
You know, when we look over this budget process, I don't know that I'm proud here tonight, sitting here with this final product. The process was a circus, to say the least. I completely agree with my colleagues that our employees are the most important asset that we have in this county. If we want to prioritize those raises, though, we should have done it at the front end of this budget. We have a spending problem in this county, and I want the public to understand that. It is out of control. There's no victory to say we have $4 million in reserves and we're now going to dip it below that. I'm going to commit myself to the budget that we all worked on and that we all approved in committee. It's very important for us to stick to some discipline in this fiscal process. Thank you very much.
All right. That
J.B. Johnson.
was last week. That's Washington County Justice of the Peace Patrick Deakins. And he joins us now on the phone. Patrick, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Paul. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, that was I appreciate your passion. What's going on with the budgeting process in the Washington County Quorum Court?
Well, we just passed our budget last week, and that was some of the commentary that I had before we took the vote. Unfortunately, you know, what has been too much of a process for Washington County and too much of now ongoing thing is at the 11th hour they're throwing a bunch of spending and pork into that budget. In particular, last week it was moving a countywide raise for all the employees from 2% to 3%, which was not in the original budget that we passed out of committee. And so, you know, what's disappointing is we try to be very deliberative in the things that we do in that budget, and then it gets tossed up to the quorum court, and all of a sudden all these other things get hung on it, and now of course the budget and the spending just grows. So, you know, the theme of Washington County continues to be spending, spending, spending. So
one of the clips that I also heard, we don't have this one queued up, but you said one more thing that I thought was really powerful. You know, when you closed, you know, expressing your disagreement with what was going on, you pointed to the audience and you reflected on the time that, you know, when you were not on this quorum court, you were in the audience. Can you kind of tell us what you said again?
Yeah, so, you know, this is my first term. To remind your listeners, this is my first year, basically rookie year of being a JP. And last year, right around this time, I sat out in the gallery with the public and watched the court do its work. At that time, there was a great concern about the amount of reserves that we have, and essentially that's just the savings account for the county to cover emergencies and things that we need to do, capital improvements and stuff like that. Well, last year they raised our property taxes, and the commentary at that time was, you know, they kind of promised the people that that tax increase, they were going to be responsible with it and fund the reserve. And unfortunately, that was completely untrue. They've spent every dime of that. We've contributed to that this year. So there is no more, you know, we continue to deplete the reserve in Washington County. And my main objective when I said that, I want the people to understand this game that gets played, and because I feel like it's not this year, next year it's going to come up again to where it's going to be the same tune, different dance. They're going to say, hey, we need to fund the reserve and we want to raise your property taxes. Please cooperate with us and entrust us to do that. And I want everybody to remember that that trust has already been violated. I don't want everybody to keep falling for this same mistake over and over and over again.
We're talking with Patrick Deakins. He's a Washington County Justice of the Peace. Definitely conservative. Matter of fact, Greg Harton has this great piece where he definitely said that you are on the right, on the conservative side of things, but he highlights this Washington County jail problem, and he highlights the fact that you are finding common ground with a pastor. Now, am I pronouncing this last name right? Schneckloth. Is that his last name?
Yes. You know, Paul, this has been probably one of the most frustrating, but also one of the most rewarding issues I've dealt with on the court. It's kind of really hung over this whole term of just what we're doing with this jail issue and the overcrowding that we're experiencing and stuff. But what's really been inspiring to me is, and I think this happens on the national level, on the state level, and the local level, because I'm experiencing it, is it's taking people that have traditionally been pigeonholed into conservative or Republican and or Democrat and liberal, and we are attacking this issue from different points of view and from different angles. But I think what's really interesting is some of the solutions that we're seeing are common ground between us. And so it's been really good to see that there's problems that we can all address together and work together. It's not, like I'm saying, it's not Republican versus Democrat or liberal versus conservative. This is neighbors working with neighbors to try to solve this issue. And so that's been really rewarding from that standpoint.
Yeah, so he writes, I think it's safe to say Deakins approaches things from a conservative point of view. Conversely, Pastor Clint Schneckloff perspective is further left. They say, though, they have found common ground in searching for ways to reduce demand on the jail Washington County now operates. So tell us about the issue itself. Like, what are some of the ideas? Because I know, we've talked before, there seems to be this temptation to want to raise taxes to build a new jail.
Yeah. There is a hard push for that, and the people who are on the opposing side for me are really trying to twist our arm and say, hey, you've got to go ahead and build this jail. It's got to be done. We're losing time, essentially. And my whole position is, we would be funding a system, in my mind, that has great underlying issues. So, of course, if we build a jail, but our justice system has underlying issues that's adding to our inmate population, we're going to, of course, fill it up. And then instead of having a 750-bed problem, which is the problem we have now at our current size, we're going to have a 1,400-bed problem when we double it a few years down the road. So my idea, my push is, let's treat some of these underlying causes. I've talked to a lot of concerned people, and I've also talked to a lot of people that are involved in the criminal justice system. And just for example, one of the main things we know is people with mental health issues and or drug addiction issues are a great burden on our jail system. And we also have seen through countless studies that throwing those people in jail and housing them, one, it's not responsible from a general health population for your general health system from your population's standpoint, but also fiscally, it doesn't make any sense, because what eventually happens is the recidivism rate when these people return to jail over and over again is very high. And so what happens is we just kind of get in this vicious circle of arrest, detention, arrest, detention, arrest, detention, where maybe if we spent our time and money in other places, we could break that cycle of arrest and detention through maybe some programs about addiction, or maybe getting that person with mental health issues into the right treatment environment, instead of just throwing them in that county jail and in that environment that perpetuates whatever symptoms they might have.
I completely agree with that. That notion 100%. And, I definitely know that as far as the drug addiction thing, that problem, that's something that has been skyrocketing all across the nation. A lot of it has to do with the fact that you have the regulatory crackdowns on opioids. So people are trying to get their fix somewhere else. That's why a lot of people are going back to heroin, needle sharing. I've been told by somebody that knows, that I trust, that's one of the reasons in my neck of the woods up over here in Northeast Arkansas, we had such a hepatitis outbreak, because it was actually sharing of needles. And that's what actually led to that. So, there's a lot of other underlying factors to all of this. Now, this article talks about an older jail. What can you tell us about an older jail, the older space?
Yeah, before Washington County constructed and built its new jail, which I think was completed around 2005 and 2006, they had an older jail down on College Avenue, which was about a 240-bed facility. When Washington County completed their new jail, they moved out of that particular space. And at the time, I don't believe there was much of a need for it for the county. So what they did was they leased that to the state for $1 a year. And so the state now uses that as what I understand is a women's detention facility to hold some women prisoners. And so, I had our county attorney pull that lease, and we looked at it. And the opportunity for Washington County now is that we could reclaim that building with 9 months notice. That's all in the terms of the lease. And so that might give us at least some short-term or some possibility to do some other things with our inmate population as an alternative to building a double expansion onto our jail. So that's pretty exciting news for me. I'm going to continue to vet that out. But more broadly, I think this speaks to, there's been a great degradation of the partnership between the county and the state, and this jail issue really highlights that, Paul. the state's really neglecting their responsibility to both fund the inmates that we house for the state at the full rate, and then also it's the state's responsibility to fund prosecutors and public defenders that work in the judicial system and get these cases adjudicated and get them out of the way. And they're not adequately funding either of those things for Washington County. So, I talk to people a lot, and they say, well, the state has no appetite to help us out in the northwest part of the state. Little Rock's not going to help out the northwest counties, Benton or Washington, because they just view those as having, a lot more opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. Well, anybody thinks of that. But, so we're really getting a cold shoulder in that sense. But when we talk about going down and reclaiming this lease, all of a sudden the state wants to tout the partnership that we have and how we need to work together and stuff like that. So, we'll see how that goes. It's a seed of an idea right now, but I'm really heavily wanting to pursue this and see if that can't be a solution for Washington County.
Wow. Well, yeah, anything but tax increase, and is I think that's a healthy mentality, and that's what that's the responsibility I know that you have to your constituents, because that's what you tell them you do, and you're doing just that, looking at other options other than the normal. I mean, government's asking for tax increases is just the normal way things work, and it shouldn't be normal. That should be the exception, not the rule.
Absolutely. We see that is the normal thing, and that's the automatic reaction anytime especially Washington County faces a problem is, well, how do we go to the taxpayer and get this funded? How do we go to the taxpayer and fix this? And my whole deal is, let's be responsible with the money that we do have. I don't understand the concept of just continuing to go to the taxpayer. At some point in my mind, the taxation well runs dry, but that is not the mentality that people have. And to connect the two issues, the fact that we continue to spend outside of our bounds in the budget process, and we continue to live above our means from what the taxpayers have given us, is a great testament to me of why we can't continue to go to the taxpayers and have them fund jails and things like that. It's unfortunate that we get into this situation, and I just want people to be aware of it and get involved, because the automatic reaction is to come to them for the taxes. So,
yeah. Well, Patrick Deakins, we appreciate it, sir. It's always great to talk to you.
Thank you, Paul. Everybody be good and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time, folks.